Welcome to our podcast, War and Freedom Inside Talks with Gazelle and Walid.
So we're here on Mount Soledad. This is a memorial, a veterans memorial, one of the most unique ones actually. They have, like, since the Revolutionary War till now, on the War of Terror, all of the veterans with pictures that you can see on the columns here, and not just veterans who have fallen, but also like still alive and still fighting. So, and you have the view, of course, like how amazing is the view. Just to look at that, you see all of San Diego, all around it, the coast, the ocean, everything that reminds you of home, that reminds you of freedom.
But there are limitations and we need to fight for it. It's not granted.
Here we have, these are freedom fighters. That's what veterans are, freedom fighters.
Exactly.
And inspire us to continue. That's why we have these freedoms.
So we are in a pilgrimage in a way. This is exactly like Lebanon. This is really a Mediterranean view, but it's very emotional because I haven't been back for many, many years.
How many years?
30?
30.
30 years I haven't been back. And now it's like I discover a new Lebanon on the coast of California. I call it the last frontier for freedom. Because after this border, after this coast, it's back to China.
Yeah.
And from China to Iran to Lebanon. So that gives me an impetus to reflect now on where are we in the struggle for freedom. And the free activists. It's just thoughts coming through my head.
That's why so many Iranians move to Los Angeles and call it Tehrangeles. Like everything reminds you of back home, you know, like the nature, the air, everything. It's like, oh my God, this is where we came from, like a new home.
Yes.
And you lost that home, which we're still fighting for, but you want to protect this one too, because what if this, like, we can see already how this is going down as well.
That's so true, Giselle.
But only, I feel like only Middle Eastern, so only people who come from these diasporas who have lost this can sense the danger that is coming right now. And everybody else is just chilling like, oh, this is always going to stay like that. We're always going to have our rights. We're always going to have our constitution. We're always going to be free. No, you won't. We had an empire, we lost it. We had human rights, we lost it. We had everything. Like our countries, like the Middle East, used to be like heaven on earth.
Oh yeah.
Like this.
Exactly.
And it's gone.
Your communities and ours, and I may say, had peace and they lost it. Peace for even centuries. But they had freedoms, relative freedoms. Also they lost it. And you're so right that the battle is here now.
Yeah.
You know, these are stages. It's not just when you emigrate, like your family, myself, we emigrated to this country, we were so happy finding freedom. We didn't know that we need to continue the fight in America to preserve America's freedom so that we can take it back to the Middle East. So we're doing two fights. And you know, sometimes I think about it, we discussed it before, there is a dilemma for people like you and me and our families when we come and find basic freedom, right? Not the national. And then we ask ourselves, why are we continuing the struggle? I had many people asking me, what are you doing? You were given a second chance. So what do you think? This is really a dilemma. I have no real answer for this at this point in time.
I asked my dad that question.
Yeah.
I asked him, like, when I was struggling in school, I needed like more attention, more help, more support from my father. And he was busy, you know, building up his radio station, the website, and like all of his time and energy was spent on people of Iran. And I selfishly thought, like, I'm struggling, I'm your daughter, you know, like, why are you not focusing on me? And the answer that he gave me back then was very simple. He just looked me in the eye straight and said, if I don't do it, who will? And I didn't understand it. Like up until my dad was kidnapped, I didn't understand what he meant with it. But once you are in that situation, once you are the one that is struggling, once you are the one that is kept by a terrorist regime, you see how few people are there that are by your side. That's what he meant. Like, if not me, who else? Because we don't have many people. As you can see, most of the people are completely unaware of the danger that is coming right now towards us here. They're thinking, talking about the Middle East is something far away, has nothing to
Yes,
do with
other
their lives. And
planets.
while we know everything is in our schools, like this is how it started to build up. First, the minds have to be set. Then the companies are coming in and steering us with their money.
Yes.
Then they take our freedoms one by one by one
Yeah,
by one.
yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in a terrorist attack like that. Like we were looking at yesterday at all of those cyber terrorist attacks on Americans. Like how many times have they tried to poison Americans with a water system through cyber attacks, like the cyber army? People like could have been dead, like one little tweak in the system, and thousands in a community could be poisoned. Like it is like the cyber war going on. People are completely unaware. People are like so like chill, and how can you not be chill? I mean, look
Yeah.
at this. Like, how can you
The-
not be
the
chill?
beauty.
But us,
Yeah.
like, we can see it, we can sense it. It is coming, people. It is coming for us, and
Yeah.
we're like running around, like you and my dad, and like
Yeah.
all of these people have done it for decades, warning, you're doing it wrong. You're underestimating what these terrorists can do. You cannot negotiate with them. You cannot see them as
Cannot
business partners. You
Yes.
cannot do that. This danger is something completely different than what you have dealt with so far.
And this country has not been occupied since the British. So there are generations and generations of Americans who have actually lived and consumed and been shielded by this freedom.
Yes.
So we, either born here or born in the Middle East, have still that connection and know the danger when it appears.
Yes.
Actually, the danger here, when I came 3 decades ago, started to teach at school. And I came from the Middle East. I assumed that America has the best teaching in Middle Eastern studies and history. I'm gonna land here, and it's gonna be very easy for me. I wanted to teach, actually. Some wanted me to be a lawyer. I had enough of being a lawyer. I wanted to be a professor. Makes less money, but it's really what I wanted to do. And then I realized that the textbooks in this country, that the debates and the conferences in this country were already impacted, penetrated by the forces that are controlling the Middle East. It's only this year, after the October 7 attack, that communities, including the Jewish community and other communities, realize that the highest, most powerful universities, the higher education, Cambridge, Harvard, UCLA, all these universities have been influenced already. They were teaching, and not saying after 9/11, I'm saying already in the 90s, we were teaching, our academics were teaching false information. Which, by the way, it reminds me of why you and I have been launching this Educate America program.
Yeah.
It all is one circle.
When did it start?
I think it
Because
started.
you don't just come in and like change the whole
No,
education system.
no.
When did the first influences and stuff start?
The late 80s, as the Cold War was winding down.
So as soon as the Islamic regime was established, they already started infiltrating.
You got it right. The Islamic regime of Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood and everybody in between, the so-called jihadists, they used their influence in the Gulf to get money, to bring those donations to these universities. So they changed the curriculum. By the time I was here in the early 1990s, I was surprised. I said, what is going on? So we had to go through this. But after
What were the major things that when you came with that knowledge of the Middle East and everything, and you looked at these textbooks and these classes and the curriculum, what was the major things that stood out to you that are like, these are lies?
These are lies. Well,
like a couple of them.
Well, more actually. The first one comes to my mind because I discuss it with you all the time, is the Islamic Revolution. The whole notion that this was an actual revolution. You understand?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Can you define what is the, okay, first of all, we don't call it a revolution, we call it a coup.
It's a
we call
coup.
it an occupation.
Yes.
What is the difference between a revolution and a coup?
Well, a revolution is done by the people to transform the government, the regime, into a more liberal, democratic. That's why revolution, they're changing the regime. A coup is a seizing the power by force. So in Iran, and we discussed it again, there were demonstrations against the government of the Shah, like in every country. You go in '68 to France,
Yeah.
and the demonstrations against de Gaulle, much more powerful than anything that happens in Iran. And I, was a kid, but I saw both phenomena. what happened is that the Islamist Khomeinists who became the regime, along with other radical organizations, including, in the beginning, Tudeh, the communists. So there was a vast alliance, communists and Islamists. They pushed against the government of the Shah, got it out, right? But then they seized the ministries of defense, of interior, and they started to kill each other. And the Khomeinis, meaning the followers of Imam Khomeini, seized everything by force and created a militia, the most terrific, terrible militia, which is the Pasdaran, Sepah Pasdaran. So
The
don't
IRGC.
the IRGC. This was not a revolution. This was an Islamic coup, as you just said. So
Because what the people wanted, the people who were influenced by these forces,
yeah,
was more freedom, more liberation, more
exactly.
this, more
That's
that,
a great
where
point.
it was going.
Yeah,
And they did not get that. So the outcome of a revolution should be with the will of the people that started the revolution. Since this did not happen, all of them were either assassinated, put into sham trials, mass executions that
Yes.
happened, massacres that happened, or had to flee the country,
Yeah.
and it was taken over by one of the smallest fractions in there,
Exactly.
actually. And everything that they were fighting for, the rest of the people were taking away. We cannot even call this a revolution, but still they're teaching the Islamic revolution. They're just parroting what the regime is saying.
Which is interesting, Giselle, because in Soviet studies, they clarified that there was a coalition against the Tsar, right? We're trying to do some comparison. And it had liberals, it has social democrats, it has everything, and the Bolshevik. So that coalition, when it started, received support from the people, not to the Bolshevik, but to limit the power of the Tsar. Limit, not even remove him, his government. But then the Bolsheviks started to kill everybody else. And then they seized by the way of force. That's a coup. It's a
Yes.
Soviet coup. But going back to your point, when I came, I said, what is this teaching of the Iranian history? There's something not true. And then the other one, the other subject, jihad and jihadism. Imagine our most brilliant, so-called advanced scholars would call jihad yoga.
What do you mean
Do you,
yoga?
do you do yoga? Have you ever done?
Yes, I love
That,
yoga.
is that jihad?
What do you mean they call jihad yoga?
I could take you to the text and we could discuss at length. The elite that was in charge of teaching the Middle East said the jihadists are not harmful, they're not terrorists, they are practicing jihad. And what is jihad? Is an inner reflection of yourself. I called it yoga. I said, what are you talking about?
I wish it was an inner reflection and not an
I
outer
would be
butchering
the
of
greatest.
me and my people.
I'd be the greatest jihadist in the world if that's the case. So I laughed at them for 20 years. But that's reality. And across the board, our history books were terrible, which means why we are now frustrated, why we have a wrong foreign policy, and why the freedom that we had here. I mean, I'm born in Beirut, of course. The freedom that we had here, we need to defend it because those bad actors are influencing the brain of young Americans.
Yes.
And when they get to what they want to crumble this country. This is no conspiracy. This is real, what we're talking about. And I know that your father tried his best, and he's an example of how these evil forces can have their arm into the United States. Didn't they try to kill him in
Yeah.
Los Angeles?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so we're not over. This is a land of the free, but as long as we defend it and keep its freedom. That's why when I came here and I smelled the air, I said, this is freedom so far, but it's under threat.
And that's what shows you my dad was just like you, like opening up a channel where the truth can come out,
Yes.
either through active teaching in the classroom or through the podcast, what we're doing.
Yeah.
Educate America, where we're going to the universities and actually interacting with the staff, interacting with the students, and telling them like what's going on. Or just opening up a free channel where the people that are living under this oppression can tell you what jihad really means, because they have a very different perspective on that, being like murdered, living under Sharia law. And those are like the majority of those are Muslims. So
They are
what they're trying to
yeah.
say is like when we're teaching, this is Islamophobia, this is that, this is against Muslims. Most of them are Muslims telling that they are against it because there is a difference between your faith that you have for yourself and the way you live versus political Islam, where you want to change constitutions, where you want to take rights away, where you want to base everything on this, I don't even know if we can call it philosophy, on this idea of terror, of this idea of power by force. And that is a hard thing that we are doing right now. Like, even after you said it started in the 80s.
Yeah.
That is a long time, 40 years.
Yes,
and we're
exactly.
still, as soon as we open our mouth and are saying something that is nothing but the truth, we are labeled.
Yeah, immediately. Did you get labels? I got a lot of labels.
Of course,
yes.
Of course. How can you not? How can you not? This is one of the propaganda strategies, like putting labels on you, like saying like, this is a Zionist.
Oh, yes.
I had to look up what Zionist even means. Like, I'm like, okay, what is that?
Oh, Zionist was my oldest label.
What is a Zionist?
Zionist is a nationalist Jewish person who wants to return to build a Jewish home in Israel or in ancient Palestine. That's a Zionist.
That's a Zionist.
That's real Zionism.
So pretty much like saying that you want Israel to exist like any other country that wants
yes,
to exist.
normal
That's
Israel.
Zionism.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you're saying also the Kurds wants a homeland, the Arabs wants a homeland. The Arabs got 21 homelands. If you look at the number of Arab countries, it's 21. And the Jews had one place, basically, where they could gather and then form the state of Israel. And anybody who is not going in the direction that the Khomeinists and the Baathists and the jihadists want is labeled a Zionist. But I got more.
What do you get?
Oh, man, I got Islamophobe. The king of Islamophobe.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because I published many books that really debunked the arguments of the jihadists, of the Muslim Brotherhood, of the Iran regime.
That is a big thing that people don't understand, the difference between jihadist and Islam.
Yeah.
Even when you say like Islamic or Islamist.
Yes, you got it right.
It's a difference between Islamist and a Muslim.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference?
Well, yeah. I mean, a Muslim is a Muslim. A Muslim can be liberal, can be jihadist, can be anything, can be socialist. But a jihadist can
be not practicing.
Can be not, atheist. A Muslim can be atheist, like Christians who are born Christians, but they are atheists. A jihadist has in his psyche the construction of an ideology, and the ideology is determining what the future should be. So it's not liberal, really. They want to establish a caliphate. The caliphate is a super Islamic state on a geography from Morocco all the way to China. They want to establish this. Everything in between should fall under the caliphate. Or in the case of Iran, the imamate. It's the same thing, but one in Shia and the other one is Sunni.
The imamate and the caliphate are both like the same thing, but one is Shia based, one is Sunni based.
Exactly. And by the way, if they defeat everybody else, they're going to go at it.
After each other.
Yes, after that, they're going to go at it. So since you and I are working on this Educate America, it's really disproportional, right? So here, you and I are doing podcasts, and then lecturing. How much can we do to reverse it? So we do our part, right? We hope to inspire other people, other like activists. This is an alliance, a project, partnership between an activist who knows the ground, who struggled, and an academic who wrote few books. So really, if many activists and academics put their effort together, as the left has done in the 60s, we're not reinventing the wheel. So maybe we could push. And I hope, after our visit to Congress, that more members will be conscious of this initiative and start supporting it. But again,
it should start from the ground up. I mean, Congress reacts to the people who are voting for them.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to speak to the common person, speak to people like me. We're not in politics.
Yes.
Us to understand what the fight is about, what the truth is, what we can do about it, where we can get our information from that is not compromised. Even like you go to Princeton and you have like somebody who is like Mousavian, a mass murderer inside of Iran, teaching at Princeton right now. Our students, our kids, like, our children can go there and be brainwashed by these people. This is scary. So letting these people know what is going on, that has to be the core. And then they take it to Congress. They say, I'm not going to be voting for you. Because right now you can bring it up there and they care, people in Congress care. You want to educate the rest or talk to the rest of America, they're like, what do I care?
What
does
do
it
I
have to
care?
be
Yeah.
with you? I want to chill on the beach.
Yes.
Leave me alone with your politics.
Exactly.
Leave me alone with your C-SPAN and you have to vote this and this is the petition and blah, blah, blah. I'm good here. No, you're not going to be good here for long.
Yeah. You know what brings to my mind, Giselle? The majority of Americans were, not incensed to this. And I would, and you would, speak to them, and it's like, okay, your cause is nice, but I'm going to go to the beach or I'm going to go somewhere. Until October 7th. I think October 7th played a role in the beginning of a change of the psyche of Americans. First of all, it hit the Jewish community hard.
Yeah.
You and I have many friends and more than friends from the Jewish community. And when the Jewish community mobilized, it really changed a lot of stuff because the Jewish community is representative of a community that has allies such as all these minorities in the Middle East, the Kurds, the Christians, the Copts, the Druze. So unfortunately, societies only move when there is blood, when there is drama. They didn't move when the revolutions were happening in your mother country. It's only recently they're talking about it. And also they're talking about it because your women, your girls, your youth rose. So unfortunately, history doesn't move just with ideas. Imagine you and I are here before October 7, before all these events. Yeah, guys, go take a cappuccino.
Yeah.
Why are you so,
Why are you so upset?
stressed?
Chill.
I agree with them. I would love to do so, but if I see 1,000 Walid and Giselle taken
over,
we will
be on this beach relaxing.
that's the beach we're going to be going
Exactly.
to. But it needs effort and time. But you know what? Many of our readers, I read yours, their posts and commentators, and I read also mine, obviously. They are intrigued. They said, Phares, Dr. Phares, after all these years, you want to what? You want to, work with Giselle to educate? You want to replace universities? And I saw comments by other readers on them say, yeah, because this country is going down.
They know.
And yes, and the education,
especially like the Jewish community.
Yes.
And all of the lies that have been told about them, about like Israel and Palestine and the history of it that is like actively taught in these schools, so people don't even know what is going on. Like the first time like you were teaching me about history, or like I was researching that, I'm like, that is like completely different from what they're teaching in the school. So they know what it means to be in a school that is brainwashing. They know how it feels. And the Jewish community was actually one of the only ones besides the Afghan women who were standing with the Iranian women, the Iranian people in 2022 when we were uprising over there. They have felt it. They know what is going on. And it's good now to have more people that know what is going on. It is frustrating that it always takes a massacre or something so big for people to wake up. But now that this happened, let's use the wake up to make something out of it. And it is odd for me that there is, I have to go back to that word. It is odd that there is a word for acknowledging a state like Israel. There's no word like that for Iran. There's no word like that for Germany or France or something, and how negative it is portrayed. Like for me, as an immigrant, I don't think any country has a right to stay. Like that's not one of my priorities. Like I don't care about the state of France or Luxembourg or like, I don't know, whatever, like that is not something that I stand up for and think like this country has a right or anything like that. When they see, and that's one of the propaganda things that they do against Iranian activists, that we're standing with the Jewish people. It is that we're standing with the Jewish people. We're not necessarily endorsing a government. We're not necessarily saying like this state has to exist or how it has to exist, where the borders are. Like, I don't freaking care. And this is like just like my history, because I didn't grow up in Iran. I was 1 year old when we moved to Germany. In Germany, I was raised there all my life, but I was still not a German. In America now, I'm like the third country I'm moving to, I don't have any true bonds and nationalism in me to have that patriotic, this country is mine and these are the borders and it has to stand. I don't have that, but still I'm identifying with the Jewish people. I'm identifying with the Palestinian people who work against Hamas. I'm identifying with the
whole
Syrian people who are fighting against the Assad regime, with the Lebanese people who are fighting against Hezbollah. We're the
Yeah.
Afghan people who are fighting against Taliban. What we're talking about is not nationalism. What we're talking about is not like we want a certain state or blah, blah, blah. We're fans of that.
I see your point.
What we as Iranians, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but for the ones that I'm talking to, why we're saying what we're saying is because we identify with these people who are fighting this terror and stopping it to coming to places like that.
Yes.
Because we felt it.
Yeah.
My dad is there.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of people have been butchered. Your
Yeah.
families is there, you know? Like,
Yeah.
we felt it on our own freaking blood.
Yes.
So it's not like a slogan for you, Zionist, minus, whatever. This is my freaking history of wrenching our hearts off, of putting our blood on the floor, spilling it by these terrorists. And now we have people who have the same problem, and we are combining and joining forces, and they don't want that.
Yeah, no, they don't want that. Actually, let me tell you, from what I've heard and read on our social platform, but also media, the other side, meaning all the radicals, when they see people like us and others, they do it for the other dissidents, trying to educate Americans. Like, I had comments from Hezbollah supporters. You're there in America trying to convince Americans, you're playing with their brain. You are playing with their brain. You are the ones who are instigating mistakes and stuff. But now, at least in our case, you know, there are multiple people, when they saw an American German from Iranian descent and an American from Lebanese descent taking the battle to the universities, mostly to the Middle East studies, and trying to correct that with enough information and experience lived, they're not happy.
They're not happy.
They're not happy.
And they know that we have truth on our side.
That's the most important.
I noticed one thing. You can put billions of dollars like they're doing into propaganda, into brainwashing machines, into media, into academia. When you open somebody's eyes to the truth, they cannot unsee the truth.
No.
Like, they have no power. The moment information reaches someone, first there's this dissonance, like, I was taught something else, this is not true, but they cannot unsee it, they cannot unhear it, they
Once
can now
you hear it.
search for it. And that was the danger that my dad was, again, bringing here.
Yeah.
Just the information coming out is a threat.
Giselle, just imagine, like, your father was doing a website and they got him. I have published 4 books on opening the eyes of the Americans. See how much, I'm sure, those bad regimes and radical forces would be looking at this work. And then you go out of your way and you produce amazing videos that are online and with a high quality production, uncovering the realities with information, with footnotes. I mean, I think, you know, I have enough years ahead of you, that what we are doing right now, what you have been doing for the last 3 years, is really inspiring. It has been inspiring to me. I have been inspiring to others. I think I was inspiring a little bit to you.
A little bit.
Just a tiny bit. So I feel good. As I'm watching this valley, this ocean, it renews our determination to continue.
Yes.
So
This is...
let's watch the blue.
Let's watch the blue with all the veterans behind us.
You can